A Traitor in Paradise by Barrie Mahoney. Some time ago I visited a memorial sculpture to 10 sincere and brave men, which was a very moving experience. These were 10 Canarian men who were tortured and put to death for their beliefs during the Spanish Civil War. These 10 men defied Franco's fascist government and were put to death by being tied in sacks filled with heavy rocks and tossed alive into the Atlantic Ocean. Almost 80 years have passed since those dark days, but now, at the point where they were deliberately drowned, a sculpture has been placed so that the memory of these 10 men and the atrocities that took place during the Spanish Civil War are not lost. Their crime was treason against the state. In Gran Canaria's capital city, Las Palmas, evacuations are currently taking place to exhume the bodies from mass graves of those killed by the Franco regime during the Spanish Civil War. The repression of civilian opponents by the Franco regime was cruel for any person or institution thought to challenge the Republic, with any workers' movement or political party described as being on the left of politics committing a treasonable offence. 80 years on, it's hoped that the exhumation of bodies from a mass grave will begin to repair the nightmares suffered by families and friends of those buried, and paid with their lives for the repression imposed by the Franco regime. Memories of the Civil War continue to be powerful reminders of the evils of a fascist dictator that ignored the rules of basic humanity. I was suddenly reminded of Spain's horrific and bloodthirsty past perpetrated on these beautiful islands when I remembered reading a proposal from a Conservative councillor in the UK stating that opposing Brexit should be made an act of treason and punishable by life in prison. To further strengthen the argument for treason, a statement from a UK Brexiteer, David Bannerman, a Conservative member of the then European Parliament, suggested that the revision of the 1351 Treason Act should also apply to EU loyalists, those who undermine the UK through extreme EU loyalty. As far as I'm aware, in law, treason is a crime that covers some of the more extreme acts against one's country or monarch. History gives us many examples of treason, including Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus, Henry VIII, who had 2 of his 6 wives executed for alleged adultery, on the grounds that such infidelity was treason. The previous US President, Donald Trump, is accused of treason because of his alleged links with Russia, as well as a variety of other alleged more recent charges. Other examples of so-called treason are often little more than action by dissidents, which may happen to upset or offend others who are or wish to be in power. One thing is clear: the definition of traitor needs extreme care in its application. To describe those who disagree or are opposed to the foolishness of Brexit as treacherous is inaccurate and does no credit to those who imply treason. There are many British citizens living and working in Europe, as well as many Europeans living and working in the UK who are passionate about wanting the UK to have remained in the European Union. They're vocal about it and support and donate to causes that are attempting to promote an alternative point of view. This does not make them traitors. Indeed, one could make an argument to the contrary. History is supposed to help us avoid the mistakes of the past. If we look at the history of Spain's Civil War and how it divided and ruined a prosperous country, together with the hurt that continues to this day, maybe we all need to be a bit more careful about the language that is used to challenge opponents. Many who were previously unfamiliar with Bannerman's usual deliberate headline-grabbing rhetoric were surprised to hear his foolish proposals. Some asked what he would suggest as an alternative punishment to be applied to extreme EU loyalists, currently known as Remainers. It should be remembered that 63% of the UK population did not vote for the nonsense that is Brexit. We are still allowed to hold alternative views to those expressed by Bannerman, Rees-Mogg, Gove, Johnson and the rest. Thankfully, we are still just allowed to protest, demonstrate and articulate views that may be contrary to the views of the Brexiteers. It is not treachery. Some would call it common sense. Fortunately, the new proposals do not call for the death penalty to be applied, but encourages prison sentences for those found guilty. Well, that's all right then. Actually, I'd rather like the idea of a few months' free accommodation in the Tower of London at His Majesty's pleasure. You have been listening to A Traitor in Paradise by Barrie Mahoney. If you'd like to find out more about myself and my books, please go to my website www.barriemahoney.com. And thank you for listening.